There is a moment, deep inside a forest, when something shifts. Your shoulders drop. Your breath slows. The constant noise inside your head begins to quiet, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant call of birds. This is not your imagination. This is biology. This is ancient medicine. And today, we are going to explore exactly how and why spending time among trees can reduce stress at a profound, measurable, cellular level. The practice is called forest bathing, and it might be one of the most powerful stress reduction tools available to modern human beings. Completely free, completely natural, and backed by decades of rigorous scientific research. Let us begin at the beginning. The concept of forest bathing originated in Japan during the 1980s under the term Shinrin-yoku, which translates directly to taking in the forest atmosphere. The Japanese government introduced the practice as a formal component of their national health program in 1982, responding to a growing crisis of workplace burnout, cardiovascular disease, and chronic stress that was sweeping through the country's rapidly modernizing population. Japanese researchers began conducting structured scientific studies on the physiological and psychological effects of time spent in forested environments, and what they found was extraordinary. The human body responds to forests in measurable, documentable ways that go far beyond simple relaxation. We are not just talking about feeling pleasant. We are talking about quantifiable reductions in cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. We are talking about decreases in blood pressure and heart rate. We are talking about changes in brain activity, immune function, and nervous system regulation that persist for days after a single 2-hour walk among trees. To understand why this happens, we need to understand something about human evolutionary history. Our species, Homo sapiens, has existed on this planet for approximately 300,000 years. For the vast majority of that time, we lived inside natural environments, grasslands, forests, riverbanks, and coastlines. The human nervous system was shaped, tuned, and calibrated over hundreds of thousands of years in response to natural stimuli. The sound of wind through leaves. The filtered quality of light beneath a forest canopy. The smell of soil and bark and rain. These are the sensory inputs that our nervous systems were designed to process. Modern urban environments, by contrast, are genuinely foreign to our biology. Traffic noise, artificial lighting, constant digital stimulation, and the relentless cognitive demands of contemporary life trigger a chronic low-grade activation of the stress response that many of us simply accept as normal. But it is not normal, biologically speaking. It is a mismatch between the environment our bodies evolved in and the environment we now inhabit. Forest bathing works, in part, by correcting that mismatch. It returns the sensory system to something familiar, something it recognizes at a deep evolutionary level, and the body responds accordingly by down-regulating the threat detection systems and allowing the restorative parasympathetic nervous system to take over. Dr. Ching Li, one of the world's leading researchers in forest medicine and author of the landmark book Shinrin-yoku, The Art and Science of Forest Bathing, conducted a series of studies measuring specific physiological markers in participants before and after time spent in natural forest environments. His findings showed that just 2 hours of walking in a forest reduced salivary cortisol levels by an average of 12.5% compared to walking in an urban environment. Blood pressure dropped. Heart rate variability, a key indicator of nervous system health, improved significantly. Participants reported lower scores on standardized measures of anxiety, depression, and hostility, while simultaneously reporting higher scores on energy, vigor, and positive emotions. These were not subjective impressions. These were numbers, recorded under controlled conditions, replicated across multiple study groups. Now, the question that researchers wanted to answer next was this: what exactly is producing these effects? Is it simply the physical exercise of walking? Is it the absence of urban noise? Or is there something specific about forests themselves that creates these measurable biological changes? The answer, it turns out, involves a fascinating class of compounds called phytoncides. Phytoncides are antimicrobial organic compounds released by trees as a natural defense mechanism against bacteria, fungi, and insects. When trees emit these compounds, they disperse into the surrounding air. And when human beings breathe that air, something remarkable happens. Phytoncides, particularly those released by conifers like pine, cedar, and cypress trees, have been shown to increase the activity and number of natural killer cells in the human immune system. Natural killer cells are a type of white blood cell that plays a critical role in destroying virally infected cells and cancer cells. Dr. Lee's research found that a 3-day forest bathing trip increased natural killer cell activity by an average of 50%, and remarkably, this elevated immune function persisted for more than 30 days after the trip concluded. Think about what that means. A single weekend in the forest produced immune system benefits that lasted for an entire month. Beyond the chemical dimension, researchers have identified several other mechanisms through which forests reduce stress. One of the most compelling is the concept of attention restoration theory, developed by psychologists Rachel and Stephen Kaplan at the University of Michigan. Their framework proposes that human attention exists in two fundamental modes. The first is directed attention, the effortful, focused cognitive engagement we use for tasks like reading, driving, working, and problem solving. Directed attention fatigues over time and requires active mental resources to sustain. The second mode is involuntary attention, the effortless, curious engagement we experience when something naturally captures our interest. A moving body of water, the intricate pattern of bark on a tree, a bird landing on a nearby branch. Natural environments are exceptionally rich in what the Kaplans called soft fascination, stimuli that gently engage our involuntary attention without demanding cognitive effort. When we enter a forest, our directed attention system gets to rest. The brain shifts into a lower gear. The prefrontal cortex, which handles executive function, planning, and worry, shows reduced metabolic activity. Studies using functional MRI technology have demonstrated that walks in natural environments decrease activity in the subgenual prefrontal cortex, a brain region specifically associated with rumination and repetitive negative thinking. In contrast, participants who walked in urban environments showed no such decrease. This is deeply significant for anyone struggling with anxiety or stress-related thought patterns. Forest environments literally quiet the part of the brain responsible for the overthinking and catastrophizing that many of us experience as the core of our stress. There is also a sensory dimension worth exploring in detail. The quality of sound in a forest is acoustically distinct from urban environments in ways that matter biologically. Natural soundscapes, birdsong, wind, water, and the low ambient frequencies generated by living ecosystems have been shown to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, which counteracts the fight or flight response. Research published in the journal Scientific Reports found that nature sounds reduce sympathetic nervous system activity and increase parasympathetic activity, with water sounds producing the most pronounced effect and birdsong following closely behind. Light also plays a role. The dappled, filtered light that penetrates a forest canopy creates a visual environment fundamentally different from the harsh artificial lighting of indoor spaces. The visual cortex processes natural light patterns differently, and there is emerging evidence that exposure to natural light, particularly in the morning and afternoon hours, helps regulate circadian rhythms, improve sleep quality, and stabilize mood through its effects on serotonin and melatonin production. And then there is perhaps the simplest explanation of all: forests invite us to slow down. The terrain demands attention to the present moment. The uneven ground, the sounds that shift as you move, the smell of pine resin or damp earth. These sensory inputs anchor awareness in the immediate physical experience, functioning as a natural form of mindfulness meditation. Studies comparing structured mindfulness practices with time spent in nature have found remarkably similar benefits in terms of stress reduction and cognitive restoration, suggesting that the forest itself may be one of the oldest and most effective mindfulness teachers available to us. For those who cannot easily access deep wilderness, the research offers genuinely encouraging news. Studies have demonstrated that even urban green spaces, city parks, tree-lined streets, and community gardens provide meaningful stress reduction benefits.